Okay, well, welcome everybody to Friends of Rick. I'm here with someone that absolutely...
Actually, what is my name?
You do not need an introduction because this is the human LinkedIn right here. You're looking at the human LinkedIn.
He's saying that because he has trouble pronouncing it.
I'm going to say your name right now. The only difference between you and LinkedIn is that LinkedIn is free and it scales. But if everybody could afford you, I'm sure that they would do that instead.
I don't
because
like the
this is a
message.
human connector. Her name is Elana Tabachnikoff.
No.
Tabachnikoff.
Better.
Okay. I knew that. Okay. Anyway, it is so cool to have you here today.
Thank you for including me in this shenanigans. You start. This is your show.
So we've known each other now for a lot of years. Was it 2008 that you joined Taos?
Yeah, ish. That sounds about right.
Yeah. And but it wasn't your first time in the Silicon Valley. Tell us a little bit about your...
Oh, you're taking me back.
Take
Good.
us back.
I love
take me back.
nostalgia. Okay, so I moved to the Bay Area in late 90s. Perfect time to be in San Francisco. And I was going to be a musician. I was going to play with the San Francisco Symphony, violin and viola, but it turns out that it was an 8-year wait list just to audition. Somebody had to die before you could get into the orchestra. So I needed some money, and I found a job with a wonderful recruiting firm called The People, and the CEO and founder, Judy, woman run, woman owned, she nabbed me and said, Elana, I think you'd be a great recruiter.
Okay, so this is 1996, 97. Okay,
yeah.
so things are really good in the Valley.
Really
It's
good.
kind of the .com, the Y2K spend is happening.
Yeah.
Big budgets all over town.
Yeah.
A lot of
Fun.
.coms popping up in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Were you in San Francisco or in the South Bay?
Montgomery Street
You
in
were
San
in
Francisco,
San
heart of
Francisco.
it. Yeah, I
Okay.
lived in Noe Valley.
And had you ever recruited before?
I didn't even know what recruiting was. No, absolutely not. No, and when I actually went to this agency, they said I was gonna have to take a typing test. And yeah, that didn't go well. So they said, you'd make a terrific receptionist. And I instead
Wait,
became
so
a
you
recruiter.
joined him as a receptionist?
The right people. The right people. That's how
Okay.
I started my career.
And how did you get into recruiting so quickly? Or was it quick?
Judy, who was my boss, just saw something and she ran with me and taught me how to do it.
Yeah.
And I started building relationships.
Yeah, so were you doing full desk then, where
Yes.
you had to go find the
100%
job and then find the
commission,
person?
100%.
Zero salary?
Zero salary.
Okay, did you make money?
I did. And I also played with the Berkeley Symphony.
Oh, so you got a gig.
And I had a string quartet.
Yeah,
Those were the days.
those were the days, yeah. The 90s
Yeah.
were a lot of fun. Okay, cool, so you did that, then something happened, you...
Met a guy.
Had a baby, met a guy.
Yeah.
Tell us
Things
about that.
happen. Be careful. Yep. My son was born in San Francisco, Isaac, and then I freaked out and moved back to the East Coast. So I was in New Hampshire and had twins there. So 3 under 3.
3 under 3, twins and an older son.
Yeah.
And you're now in New Hampshire.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what years were this? 2002, 2001?
2002.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you leave because of the .com bust or specifically because...
Isaac.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I
Because a
think-
lot of people ran away
Yeah,
during
the bubble burst.
During the bubble burst. Okay.
Yeah.
So you go back because of Isaac. You're living in New Hampshire. Did you work for that period of time until we hired you, or what were
I
you doing?
did a short stint in Boston with Cunny and Jaspe as a recruiter. And then Taos took a leap of faith and hired me. You're welcome.
Yeah. Well, you had you had some experience, but you hadn't worked in a while,
And I'd never worked in technology.
and you had never
so-
worked in technology.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we took a leap of faith, but you were kind of an instant hit at Taos.
Thank you.
I will say that, like I used to coach little kids in soccer, and one of my philosophies was, try to make the guys that are pretty good better, but leave the wallflowers that aren't that good, just leave them alone, and leave those superstars alone because they kind of, work differently on the soccer field. And I always had the sense that as an employee, you kind of beat to your own sort of tune. I had a lot of complaints from your managers about, I can't frickin' manage this woman.
So who ended up managing me?
Me.
That's right. Smart move. Smart move.
Yeah, I did. Okay, so
when you brought me on board, Rick, you really tasked me with owning your Rolodex. And that was a big ask because basically you were the most connected CEO leader in Silicon Valley. And so we would spend hours and you would just name names, and I would, now LinkedIn comes into play, which was my holy grail. And I would just connect with all of these people in a way that maybe a typical recruiter doesn't. I would really share my story and have them share theirs. I never got into the weeds about, keeping the lights on or, technology stuff, the words people use. I would just kind of go with the flow.
Okay, so this is a true
They
fucking
liked
story.
it.
I'm going to tell this story. So
Don't embarrass me.
So Elana's working for us, and I'm thinking we had this practice called Office of the CIO. It was a executive, the executives that worked for Taos as senior consultants. Most of them were chief information officers, so we called it Office of the CIO. Later, we just renamed it the executive, consulting practice. But I thought, I wonder if Elana could do that because she connects at the senior level. So I had her have lunch with a buddy of mine, Jeff Lucchese, who was not yet a Taos employee, or maybe he had just joined. And Jeff had lunch and called me later, and he goes, Rick, she's great, but she'll never be any good at that. At recruiting. So then I had you meet another guy, and he gave me the same feedback. So I hired you anyway, I promoted you into that role, and you had an uncanny ability to get a call back from these guys. So do you think it was that magic where you didn't get into the weeds? And
well, let me just back up, because the guy who said absolutely do not hire me is giving me a tennis lesson on Monday, and he's a stud. So there. I think it was refreshing for these CIOs who were always so busy touting their next project or their budgets or their whatevers to talk about, I'm worried about my son getting into college, or you're a musician and I'm interested in that, or you lived in Europe and wanting to speak languages, or just anything I could find to connect with them that had nothing to do with their CV.
You had a magic about that. Okay, well, good. That was a lot of fun working with you. So you retired when? Last year?
January.
Oh, and let me back up. So you're living in New Hampshire, working for Taos,
Yep.
recruiting in the Bay Area.
15 years.
You had a 408 number.
Thank
So
you.
people didn't necessarily know.
And I didn't volunteer it.
But you know what, guys? This was a time before
Pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID, right? Way before pre-COVID. We're talking 2008, 2009. And work from home wasn't a thing yet. So you actually pulled it off. You were living in
Oh, this is pre-Zoom.
Yeah.
This is pre-WebEx.
So what was the tools?
The tools were, backing up to San Francisco, right? When I was working for the right people, I was given the yellow pages and a phone. So I know what it's like to just kind of figure that out. So when I started with Taos, I was basically given a LinkedIn premium account and have at it. And that really opened all the doors for me. And then eventually we started these networking events, ITD, and then
IT Directions.
IT Directions. And once we started really meeting everyone and they had an opportunity for face-to-face time, because I did travel. I mean, I worked remotely, but I did travel.
Yeah, you came out like
quite
twice
a
a quarter was sort of the agreement that we had.
And, these became my family. It was not just working relationships. It was, they were part of my world.
Yeah. earlier today, you reminded me that we had a client, Doug Spidell.
Yeah.
And you ended up hiring not
wife.
Doug, but
His wife.
yeah, his wife, Karen.
Yeah.
Who ended up being an amazing asset for us.
For Taos, it wasn't just the CIOs. I hired the majority of the sales team. I hired your customer management, success managers. I hired recruiters. I mean, pretty much anyone I could put in front of the right person, I think was usually a good fit.
You even hired my replacement, Hamilton Yu.
I did.
I
encouraged it.
Yeah. In 2017, Jeff Lucchese, who was our COO,
who said not to hire me, by the way.
the guy that said not to hire her, retired, and I needed to find a replacement for Jeff, but also I knew that I was on a path to have an exit strategy with Taos, and I wanted to have a really good CEO take the helm from me. And so we hired Hamilton as our COO,
and
but
I kept
knowing
telling you to meet with him, and you kept saying no, and finally I just set it up.
you set it up.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be a great meeting. So
Yeah.
our VP of sales was also your hire.
Yeah.
So you were responsible at Taos for a lot of the things that went
I
on.
love saying you're welcome, but I do have to take a moment to say thank you to you, Rick.
Why?
Because you did, you did just think outside of the box when it came to me, and you gave me that freedom of, no micromanagement whatsoever.
Don't manage the superstars.
Yeah.
Leave them alone.
So
let
I'm
them
very
run.
grateful, and I think there are thousands and thousands of people in the Bay Area who want to take a minute to say thank you, Rick Arrudia.
Well, it's been a real fun 32 years running Taos, and now I'm really enjoying I'm so happy that Taos is a part of the fabric of IBM now, and that it is thriving under that new umbrella, new ownership. I'm super jazzed that IBM has kept the Taos name, because they know that it's a good name, and it's in very, very good hands. Hamilton is doing a great job with the company, and now I'm just having fun, spending money, doing stupid stuff like this.
Do you, so no regrets from your perspective?
No, none. Just super excited. I'm very happy for Taos, and I'm really excited. Just kind of dabbling and
for your next chapter.
Doing this Friends of Rick. But this is about you, so let's ask.
Oh, we're still talking about me.
You're no longer in Hollis.
I now live in Newport Beach, California.
Okay, when did you move?
Total mid-COVID, end of August 2020.
Yeah.
So, full-fledged COVID, packed up dogs, cats, instruments, kids, and moved to the beach.
Your two twins are in college. What are they doing?
They're football players. I'm their biggest fan. Go Sage Hens. They're at Pitzer, the Claremont colleges, so I'm very, very proud of them. And Isaac is in Montreal at McGill in his 5th year. So
And he's a
doing
musician,
great.
like he's following in Mama's footsteps.
Oh, he's exceeded me musically.
How the
years
hell's
and
your
years
tennis
ago.
game going?
And my tennis game is coming along. Thank you for
Yeah.
asking. Yeah. So in between football games and playing some tennis and reading a ton of books and just trying to keep busy.
Well, I am so freaking excited that you came up here for this taping.
Was there any other option?
No other option.
Could I have gotten out of it?
No way. I would have gone down there and gotten you. So anyway, thank you. It was a great of you to come, and super excited that we did this.
Thank you.
Okay. Way before Taos, 1980s. You've got this international flair about you. What were you up to?
Well, Rick, believe it or not, my dad joined the Army at 50 years old. And my mother's from Holland. She wanted to spend time there. And he joined the Army and moved with 4 daughters to SHAPE, Supreme Headquarters Allied Powers Europe, which is the headquarters of NATO, outside of Brussels, Belgium. So at 16 years old, I had graduated high school, and I went to music conservatory.
Back up.
Whoa.
You graduated high school at 16?
I did.
Because I graduated high school at 19. Okay, so.
That's the difference between us, and he's the big boss. I did
I
some.
take all the credit. Though. That's the nice thing about having staff. They can come up with a million stuff. Go on.
So I went to music conservatory in Belgium, and then I ended up moving with a professor to Paris, and I stayed in France for about 3 years. I was in Grenoble, and I spent my summers in Italy at the Sezione Senese per la Musica e l'Arte in Siena, and then I moved to Amsterdam, where I was a Kammermeisje, which is a chambermaid.
Did you have to wear one of those little
I
lederhosen
did,
things?
I did. I did a good job. And I learned to speak Dutch. And then I got my master's in psychology in Germany,
Wow. Really?
outside of Kaiserslautern. Yeah.
I've known you all those years. I don't think I knew that. Okay, so you
Yeah.
got your master's in Germany.
Yeah.
So fluent English, fluent French,
Pretty good Dutch,
pretty good Dutch, pretty good German.
if I have to.
I've heard you speak some Italian.
Yeah.
And when you speak your Spanish, it ain't bad.
Well,
So
wine
you're
helps.
almost like these European people, like Jordy, who speaks all these languages, except very few Americans
Yep.
can pull this off. So that's a rarity.
Yeah.
And it came
And it's
in.
come in very handy with Taos.
It did, because we had this big project with Sephora. We actually managed their entire technical support on an outsourced basis. We had a team in Boise, Idaho dedicated to Sephora. And it was like, for the after hours, hit 1 for English, 2 for French. And give us an example.
Et voilà, c'était moi. Bonjour, merci pour votre appel. Pour l'aide, appuyez le numéro 1. Thank you so much for calling Sephora. For any help or assistance, push 1. But then you have to do 2, 3, 4, 5. It took me 3 weeks to do this project.
Well, we're very grateful.
You're welcome.
Thank
De
you, thank you,
rien,
thank you.
de rien, avec plaisir.
Okay. Okay, so Elana, you've experienced, now you're retired, you're life,
Yes.
playing tennis, blah, blah, blah. Advice would you give up and recruiters, people that say, oh my God, I want to be like her? What advice would you give?
Oh, well, first and foremost, I've already said it, relationships matter. And trust matters. I know Mark Johnson used to always say, we have to be the trusted advisor. If they don't trust you, then it's all for naught. But the other advice I would give is just laugh, always have fun, have humor, you know, make them feel safe and you feel safe. And I would say that also to a salesperson, to a recruiter, to a technical person, just to humanity. Be humble, be grateful. Your attitude is everything, and it does rub off. I mean, people can read it.
Yeah. Well, you had a way about you.
Thank you.
You still do. You just don't need to do it anymore.
I don't need to do it anymore. Thanks to you.
I love it. Well, okay, good. And anything else you'd like to say that we haven't covered, or?
No, I mean, timing is everything. And, you know, I was going to ask you about this too, but I do think there's a luck component in life, and there's going after it, you know, making that free will conscious choice. And in this case, I think for both of us, we nailed it. So
yeah, it just kind of worked out.
It just worked out.
Yeah. Well, I am so excited. Glad you came up here for this, and
It's happy hour.
stick around because we're having a party later. So
I'll
it should
be
good.
there.
Okay.
I'm always good for a party.
All right.